Hello, welcome. Haven't seen you guys for a few days, and today we're gonna record a brand new episode. I think that's episode 11. I'm using my new microphone, so I hope you guys can tell a difference. Let me switch off the air conditioning. Alright. Now the aircon is off. I'll keep silent for 5 seconds, and you guys can tell if this microphone provides better audio than before. Yep. Alright, let's start today's recording. Today, I want to do a bit of a gear talk. Why I think a lens like this, the 16mm RF F2.8 STM lens with the Canon R or RP, is currently one of the best, if not the very best, vlogging setup. For walking vlog, for self-vlogging, particularly when you want to move and film yourself by yourself, right? Either with bare hand holding the camera and the lens, or you want to use some sort of a support, a tripod, a monopod, but you have to be able to be mobile. You have to be able to move. So we're not talking about a steady tripod with, camera fixed angle and camera fixed and start recording like what we're doing now. So what I'm talking about is the best gear combo, inexpensive way of vlogging, outdoor, moving, walking, running, and talking, right? Why I think this is the best system, or one of the best. So let's look at all the other options, shall we? So from the smallest sensor, I think you have your phone. But phone's problem is obvious. You can't see yourself, right? If you use the front-facing camera, usually they crap. The best front-facing camera, probably one of the ASUS Zenfone 8, which it's got the same camera but rotating front and back, but that's far from mainstream, and it's not really something you and me all would jump to buy one just to use that for front-facing vlogging. For me, for that type of walking vlogging, I need to see myself, so I need a front-facing screen, or flip up, flip down, flip side, doesn't matter, but you have to be able to see yourself. Have to have a reliable autofocus tracking, not only tracking your face and eyes, but also when you turn your head and turn back, it can find your eyes back. In this regard, I think Canon, Sony, to some extent Panasonic and Nikon are catching up, so they're usable, right? So back to the topic. Apart from see yourself good AF, what you really want is a lens ghosting flare and glare to the minimum, because when you're walking outside, the lights coming from the sun, coming from the shop's lights, coming from reflective surfaces like glasses, windows, so you never predict which angle the light gonna come in, because your framing is constantly changing because you're moving. So if your lens not good with ghosting, flaring and glaring, pretty much is useless. Your contrast will be gone if the lens get a massive flare. So in this regard, I think pretty much all the Chinese manufacturers, to some extent, older Samyang lenses are not really up to the standard we want. I think resolution is one of the least important thing. No one will care if your lens not sharp enough. As long as the focus is spot on and no glare, no flare, the coatings are good, you don't really care about resolution. So we want flip screen, good autofocus, minimal lens ghosting and flaring, and then obviously you want the bigger sensor. Why the bigger sensor? Because it gives you a natural focus on your main subject, which is yourself, and a little bit of blurred background. You don't want too much blur. You don't want all of them blur into cream, milky, and you don't really show your surroundings. But then you don't want the phone camera, typical phone camera, even iPhone, the newest iPhone, you can't really blur the background unless you use some digital magic, right? Like what the Pixel 6. But I think in video regards, the computational videography is still just started. It's about 3 to 5 years behind the computational photography, which from Pixel 2, pretty much Google has mastered that. They use a crop sensor, cheap lens to produce one of the best, if not the best until today, best of still photography. They use heaps of, multiple frames, variable, different exposure, shutter speeds, and use different ISO value, even use sensor shift to, OIS to mimic the demosaic, so you don't really need to do those algorithms guessing RGB. You actually have the true color reading of each pixel. Those kind of things are not really there in video specs. So what we're talking about is as of end of 2021, I think we still want a kind of bigger sensor. With technology advances in future years, our demands changes, right? So I'm talking about as of now, you still want a bigger sensor. You want a nice fall off in the focus to defocus. You want a little bit of bokeh. So let's look at the real camera. Start from Micro Four Thirds. What you got is Olympus and Panasonic. We're not talking about body at the moment. We're just talking about lenses. What you get? I think we want an equivalent of full frame 16 to 24 mil field of view. So in Micro Four Thirds terms, you want 8 mil to about 12 mil. I think that the options are quite limited. Even after 10 years Micro Four Thirds being in the game, they still have very limited options, right? And in the outdoors, because of the sun, because of the brightness changes a lot, you won't be able to use a variable ND. So you pretty much don't want a bulbous front glass. You don't want those fisheye glass. You won't be able to have a flat front, at least have a filter thread, right? So you got 7 to 14 f4, and you have 7 to 14 f2.8, which is a bulbous front and enormous and very expensive, right? You got 8 to 18 Panasonic, which in my opinion probably one of the best, and then you have a 9mm prime from Olympus, which is again a fish eye, and you can defish in post-production if you want to do post-processing, but I'm not doing. That's the advantage of I'm using this RP. I don't need to do anything. I just record 16mm with a bit of digital stabilization, and pretty much I'm done, right? So with this Olympus lenses, you have to defisheye, otherwise you won't be able to use it. There's no 10mm prime unless you go Voigtlander and manual focus, which not desirable for a walking vlog. You will never be able to nail the focus. And then you got 12mm. In 12mm you have plenty of choices and they're all pretty good. However, I think with equivalent of 24mm field of view, you need a support. You need a monopod as a must. You can't bare hand hold a 24mm. You will just have too much face. Look at now, I have my face and my head and my upper body. That's what I want. It's not far. It's 1 arm's length to the length. That's what I want. I can go a little bit closer and I'm fine. I'm fine. This is bare hand holding distance, bare hand holding camera distance, right? And this is half a step back. If I have a support monologue, you can see the surrounding, a nice background. If I'm walking on the street, it's a nice bokeh. Not too much, just enough to not distract viewers, right? And then you look at M4 Thirds, Micro Four Thirds. They really don't have a lot of options. They have the Panasonic 10-25 f1.7, impressive specs, but that lens costs and weighs as much as a full frame lenses. At that point, what's the point? What's the point of having that? You might as well buy a Canon RF 15-35 f2.8 with image stabilization. That lens is $2,200 and the Panasonic is about the same. So why would you buy a Micro Four Thirds, that heavy, big, bulky lens, to use on a equally heavy, bulky GH5, or you use on EM1X, EM1 Mark III? I don't see the point. To be honest, Micro Four Thirds excels at compact, light telephotos, excels at compact, light, normal range primes. Like, equivalent of 35mm, like 17mm Micro Four Thirds, 20mm Micro Four Thirds, 15mm Micro Four Thirds, or 25mm Micro Four Thirds. They're all pretty good, compact, small, but they're not for walking, one-man, walking, talking, vlogging. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about, I want equivalent of full frame 16-24mm field of view. Right? When we look at even smaller sensor, what we got? We got a Sony RX100 Mark VII. Impressive, very, very good camera. However, you have to put digital stabilization on because their lens optical OIS is not very good when you're walking. So you put digital stabilization on, their widest angle 24mm become 29, 30mm. So you really need a long tripod. You can't even use a compact little monopod thing. So that pretty much rules it out. Then we look at APS-C sensor frame. What do you got? In Sony system, you got A6400, A6600. Again, A6600 is pretty much a full frame entry level price, right? At that level, I just don't see the point. What lens you've got? You've got a Sanyang 12mm f2 AF lens, which just not long ago announced. And apart from that, Sony doesn't even have a very wide angle APS-C lenses, or you can adapt a E-mount full frame lenses to use for this kind of application in their APS-C lineup. You've got a 10-18, but that was F4, so I'm not sure APS-C F4 would be enough, right? That lens OIS is actually quite good. I give you that. So you got two options, right? 12mm Sanyang 10-18. If you don't mind the weight, you can have the 16mm Sigma, which is quite popular among all the Sony APS-C users, right? Because 24mm, it's wide enough if you use a small tripod, and also if you're facing the other way, you film something. It's very nice field of view. So you got two options, but the Sigma is a bit on the bulky and heavy side. On the Fuji front APS-C lineup, what you've got? You've got their 10-24mm f4. Again, same problem, f4, and has pretty good OIS, and with their newer bodies with IBIS, so it should be okay. Other than that, you got obviously the Fuji 16mm f1.4, very, very excellent optical performance. However, it's quite expensive at $1,000. And also, that lens is smaller than the Sigma, but not much lighter. So you're still looking at 400 gram plus. Then you move on to full frame Fuji, full frame Sony. Fuji doesn't have a full frame. Full frame Sony, you got A7C, which have the flip screen, and you got Samyang 18mm, that tiny lens. I think that's good enough. That's good enough. That's really, really impressive, right? You got the screen. Who cares about 10-bit? You got a 4K. You got, you got pretty much everything you wanted in that small compact system. And then I think Canon RP with this 16mm f2.8 lenses is, pretty much the front two choices. Nice defocus bokeh and nice the rendering and the field of view. It's good enough. Then you got Nikon. Nikon only has a 14-30 f4, which is a good lens for landscape and night photography, but not sure for vlogging though. I haven't seen too many examples of that. Pretty much not enough people even use Z6 for vlogging, and it doesn't have the flip screen. So if you use their Z50 or ZFC, then you look at no lenses. You can use that DX lenses from the F mount, but then that's adapter and all sorts of issue. The actuation of their aperture blades are not even electronic, so it's got a mechanical actuation of the aperture blade, so it makes a noise, a constant noise. So I'm not sure that's applicable for these purposes. What will you look at Nikon? Nikon got nothing on the horizon, not even on their lens roadmap. They not even planning to announce a super wide angle compact small primes. At the moment, the widest is 20, and that 20mm is long and big compared to the Sony 20mm f1.8. That one is a lot longer, a lot bigger. So obviously that leaves us to Panasonic full frame. Panasonic full frame does have a 18mm f1.8 on the roadmap, and they're gonna announce soon. By the look of it, it's gonna be very, very good. That's my top three. Basically, Sony A7C plus either the 18mm Samyang if you want the smallest package, or the 20mm f1.8 G lens, and then Canon, which you either use R or RP, or you use R6, and then with this 16mm f2.8 second place, I would place it second place, and then the third place in the near future would be Panasonic S5 with 18mm f1.8, specifically just for walking, vlogging yourself with no support person. You can put a camera, external camera, support a monopod, whatever, but you're not allowed to have a second person to film you. So it's just one person, film yourself in a moving environment. I think those are my top three. And as an analyst in the APS-C lineup, you have something similar, but you're not saving any size, weight, or money. So why bother? And in the M Micro Four Thirds, you don't even have the equivalence of the depth of field. Even you do with a 10 to 25, it's as bulky, as expensive as Canon's RF 15 to 35 f2.8, which is excellent lens. The only reason I didn't buy it is because it's 4 times the size and 6 times the price of this 16mm. So here are my top 3. What do you guys think? What about today's audio? I'm using a mic boomed up just above the frame on the side, pointing to my mouth, and that's the Line Audio CM4. Let me know you guys think, and bye for this episode. Thank you very much for watching.